Good morning. I want to jump into this next Alinsky quote today. I know I've taken a few days off, just some light touches on postmodernism and some other issues that are happening in the world today. I felt a need to cover. So check out those videos. They're okay. They're not some of my best work. They're very, very much off the cuff, which most of what I do is off the cuff. But if you are a Christian leader, you need to understand postmodernism because that's the root of a lot of things that are going on today. A lot of dangerous things that are going on today. So it would be helpful to learn about those things and make sure that you're well prepared to engage in those battles. The quote of Alinsky today is a telling word, and if you have been paying any attention to our culture, you're going to see it in practice. And here's the quote. It says, all definitions of words, like everything else, are relative. What he's talking about is the ability to redefine words. Now, he only briefly passes over this. This statement is just kind of like in passing, but it's a window into what he believes about language and words. He understands that if you can change the language and maybe even constantly change the language, then and the definition of words, then you've got the ability and the control over people that is staggering. It cannot be minimized. And so he promotes this in that in the specific chapter he's talking about ego, which Christians would we would define what he calls ego as pride. And not the, I'm proud to be an American pride, but the kind of pride that goeth before destruction, I believe is the King James quote there. That sort of pride, and he is discussing how that kind of pride is good. When you read Alinsky, you can easily tell which of our leaders are Alinskyites. I think Bill de Blasio quoted Marx a couple of days ago. Joe Biden just quoted Mao Zedong. You can tell by who these people quote, by how they carry themselves, which the Bible talks about let people know you by your conversation, meaning like your lifestyle, who you are, what you exude. You can tell Alinskyites, you can tell those who believe in Marxism, communism, socialism, the most destructive forces in the world, even in the United States now. They're literally the greatest weapons of mass destruction to this day are ideas. Socialism, Marxism more than socialism, because socialism predated Marx. Marx added the bones. Marx and Engels added some horrible bones to it, and literally their ideas have killed hundreds of millions of people, starved them, raped them, the whole nine yards. Just dangerous stuff. So you have to be careful with anything related to Marxism or Alinskyism. That's kind of my word. But so you see a lot of what the left is doing today is they are redefining words. So think about like what racism is and what I'm young, and when I grew up, racism was believing that other colors of people were inherently inferior because of their skin tone. That's what racism meant. And up until, a few weeks ago, that's how it was defined. And then the left went all, I call it jihad. They had their holy war against Webster's dictionary, and got them to change it to something that basically means if you're the only people who can be racist are straight white Christian males. Everybody else can never be racist, nor could anything but straight white Christian males. They all have to be racist. They're inherently. That's the whole new the new racist dogma that's coming out of the left. Which, and you have to understand the left. All of this is just a tool to them to divide. You never know what they believe because they don't really believe in anything other than power. And that's the biggest danger. Because once you begin to start redefining words, things change. You can start speaking. They call this dog whistling, and it's something that they accuse the right of doing all the time. And to this day, I can't figure out a single time when the right has ever done this. But I do know enough about the left that I see it done all the time. When they start speaking in terms, but the words don't mean what they're supposed to mean. They have different definitions to their groups. This happens all of the time on the left because I am privy to the left's lingo, and I try to keep up with it. And if there is racism alive in the United States, the vast majority of it is on the left. It's absolutely evident because the left is very anti-Semitic. They hate Jews, and that's horrible. But that's where it's alive today. They talk about the dangers of right-wing militias, and I live in the South. I don't know a single right-wing militia, period. I don't know where any of them are, where they could be. I think the 3%ers went to Kentucky and had 20 people show up. And, no offense to them, but they were all overweight and old, So it was more like I don't know, I view things like that more as like a weird club. I mean, if it floats your boat, that's fine as long as you're, being a good citizen. I don't really care, but so anyway, that's what a lot of this stuff means is when they can change the definitions of words and turn them into something that they're not. When anytime you're talking with someone on the left, you have to define words. And if they will define it, then you can have a conversation with them. If they won't, they'll call you a racist, sexist, bigot, homophobic, transphobic, xenophobic, oxygenophobic. I mean, there are these words that are now meaningless. They used to mean something, but now they don't. Now they just mean, you disagree with me, let me slander you, which we covered before. That is an Alinsky tactic. Don't engage in debate. That's the number one thing. Anytime you debate with someone, you legitimize them. And so that's why a lot of Alinsky's people, they don't want to debate. Because when you pull socialism, there's a reason socialism died at the end of the 20th century, because it was horrible. It just doesn't work. But it's being resurrected again, and a lot of it's being resurrected through Alinsky's tactics. So you need to know this. If you're trying to lead a group of people, and you don't have working definitions of words, you might as well be speaking a different language. So you have to be very careful. You have to make sure that everyone is working from the same dictionary. Otherwise, it will breed confusion. And confusion is not good for any type of leadership. This is why I have a problem with a lot of Christian sermons and songs and things that just, they don't explain what the words mean. So if somebody, I always think of it this way. If someone walks in off the street and has never heard about Jesus, and you just start teaching or singing, and there's no context, it can seem very bloody, gory, scary even, and so I always want to give context to some of our lingo, our vernacular, and so it always helps. If you want clarity, look for the definition of the words. If you want chaos, keep redefining the words. And as long as you can, as leaders, if someone is redefining words and you're trying to engage with them in dialogue, you will always be off balance because you will never know what they're talking about, and they can all look and point and say, see, you're a insert the new word that they just redefined. They could redefine racist as an ice cream cone tomorrow. And so for example, you see all these socialists going around screaming eat the rich. Well, they could tell everybody, well, we've redefined the word rich, to mean ice cream cones. And so then everybody's like, well, oh, okay, they can say that, because it's just an ice cream cone, right? But they're not talking about the ice cream. So you have to dig down and find the interior of these definitions, and you have to know what you're talking about. When white people start talking about white privilege, they actually don't realize that they are. Once you believe in white privilege, you are admitting for the whole world to see that you actually are a racist, in any way that's defined. Anyway, it has been so ill defined, but it's they just keep changing the definition. They changed the word. It's called retcon, and it's talked a lot about in like video games and stuff when you didn't like how it started, so you just like change it on the fly and pretend that didn't happen. That happens a lot, and that's an Alinsky tactic, and it's very powerful. Watch out for it, and make sure you know how to defend against it. And I hope you don't ever use it, but it is a tool.